Show, Gridiron 7, with your hosts, David Bradley and Michael Parker.
Good evening and welcome to the show. I am David Bradley, and thanks for tuning in. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge those of you who called in, giving a compliment or two. We enjoy the kind letters and the occasional gift, but please, I have more Hair Club for Men brochures than I'll ever need. It is playoff time when season-long questions are answered. Who really deserves to be number one? And why do people offer a penny for your thoughts, but they want to put their 2 cents in? These and other mysteries will be solved during this half hour, so you don't want to miss any of it. We'll make you glad you chose this show. Certainly those fans who chose to go to the Lawton High rematch were pleased with their choice. It was a dandy that went right down to the last quarter. Michael Parker was among the fortunate ones.
Friday night was like every other night. Fans leaving their homes on their way to Cameron Stadium for the weekly football game. But it was now playoff time, and for football fans in Lawton, the two teams involved made it more than worthwhile to attend. Lawton High and Eisenhower. Exactly 10 games ago, the teams clashed in the season opener, and a virtually unknown Wolverine team upset the number 8 team in the nation, 14-12. Friday night's game began as a defensive struggle. Neither team able to get on the board in the first half, a first half plagued by penalties and lack of offense for both teams. But as the night wore on, you got the feeling a big play was going to turn the tide and change the game altogether. That's when a 141-pound lightning bolt struck. A short punt by Ike's Ryan Rulison took a high hop, and DeAndre Swanson took advantage of it. He swooped in, picked up the ball, and raced 78 yards for the game's first score. From there, Eisenhower struggled. They fumbled on their next possession and turned into a 9-yard touchdown scamper for Marcus Pitchford, who finished with his first 100-yard rushing game of the season. Donnie Caldwell intercepted a Johnny Johnson pass and ultimately scored Lawton's third touchdown on this 8-yard run. 5 plays and 20 points for the Wolverines sealed Eisenhower's fate. With just over 3 minutes left in the game, Marshall Coleman would score Ike's only points of the night, but it was too little, too late. After the game, Ike coach Chris Stiles proclaimed that the Eagles would be back. But for now, it's the Wolverines who move on. They play more Saturday night, round 2 of the 6A playoffs.
We came out here, we got hyped, we just had to take it. We knew we had to do, it was assignment football, we knew we had to go out there and play hard-nosed football.
Eisenhower came to play. We knew they would. They've got pride, and you knew that they were going to play hard. They've got great athletes. Their coach staff does a good job, and we're just thankful to get out of this one.
Michael Parker, Gridiron 7.
So Lawton High rolls on and Ike goes home. MacArthur came up short in their first-round game with Woodward, and Duncan fell at El Reno, but they were the exceptions rather than the rule. Plenty of area teams play on this week. In Oklahoma, now they're splitting the games between Friday and Saturday, so check your local listings. Or check out this list, why not? In Class 6A, the Wolverines, of course, are going to be playing at Cameron Stadium against Moore, a team that has been here already. They lost to Eisenhower during the regular season. That's a Saturday night game, and the winner of that one awaits Union or Washington. Class 5A, Woodward takes on Altus. Boy, that'll be a good one. Friday night, 7:30. Both of those teams in the top 5 in 5A. The winner there gets either McAllister or Claremore. In Class 3A, Plainview and Frederick in a rematch of a district game. Plainview's been beaten just once. That was to Frederick. And, of course, the Bombers only lost to Marlowe. Oologah and Spiro awaiting the winner there. That's another Friday game. Marlowe taking on Seminole, the #1 team in the state in 3A. We'll see if Marlowe can pull off the upset. If they do, they'll advance to a semifinal meeting with either Eufaula or Bonita, and again, that Marlowe game is another Saturday game. Class 2A playoff action, Hobart unbeaten playing Friday night against Kanawha, and Hobart hoping to get over the hump there because Watonga lays in wait, and that's, again, the match that's been going on for a couple of years now with Watonga getting the upper hand. In Class A, Rush Springs playing at Texoma. That's a Saturday night game. Texoma's undefeated, and they are ranked #2 in the state. We'll learn a little more about that matchup shortly. Fox and Sealing awaiting the winner there. Another Class A playoff action, Velma Alma, #1, takes on O'Keene. That's a Friday night game. And on the other side of the bracket, another area team, Hollis, once beaten, taking on Crescent. That'll be a great area matchup in round 3 if it will hold up. Class B, 8-man action. Mountain View Godebo taking on Snyder. That's another 7:30 game. Another area matchup there. Oklahoma and Christian and Prue playing in the other half of that draw. Class C playoff action. Granfield goes into the Panhandle 2. They'll take on Balco. Both teams 10-1. That's a Friday night game. White Oak and Medford in the other quarter of that draw. And Central's Broncos home Saturday night to take on Kremlin Hillsdale. And if Central wins that, which they are favored to do, then they'll move into the next round against the winner of Pond Creek Hunter or Welch. Class 3A in Texas. Vernon is at home taking on Amarillo River Road. River Road has only lost once. They've been in and out of the top 10 most of the season. That's a Friday night game. Childress plays against Springtown in Iowa Park Friday night in another 3A matchup. And in Class 2A, Archer City must go to suburban Dallas to take on undefeated Salina Friday night 7:30 at Pennington Field. And Holiday playing in Denton against once-beaten Pilot Point. And that's a 7:30 game at Fouts Field. Now, among the area teams that have quietly put together strong seasons, the Rush Springs Redskins. They lost their first 2 games. Those 2 teams were Velma, Alma, and Wayne. And both of those are unbeaten still. And then they lost by 1 point in overtime at 6th-ranked Hollis. This week, as we mentioned, Rush plays another unbeaten number 2 Texoma on the road. And here to talk about that game and the season of the Rush Springs Redskins, James Bird, a lineman who plays both offense and defense closest to me, and Kevin Warden, a center and linebacker for the Redskins. And guys, thanks for coming over. And first of all, I understand you had a chance to find out a little more about this Texoma team. Undefeated, they must be doing a lot of things right. What do you know about them so far?
Well, they have a good backfield. The quarterback is, you know, a leader on the field and everything, and they got a real strong backfield.
What do you know about the long trip up there? All I know is that it's up in the Panhandle, and it takes about a day and a half to get there, and playing on Saturday is going to be kind of a tough game day for you, won't it?
Yeah, we're planning on leaving Saturday morning and getting up there, stopping in Amarillo and eating. Coach Tunnell, he's looking forward to it. Coach Poole down there at Velma, I remember a couple years ago they went up there and played in the snow, so we're hoping that we have some decent weather up there in the Panhandle with all that wind.
You're closer to Boulder, I think, when you're in Texoma than you are any place else in Oklahoma. Talk a little bit about how this season has gone for you guys, James. I mean, you started off 0-2, and I guess coming off of a pretty good season last year, was there a little bit of discouragement with that kind of start? Because at that point you knew Velma would be good. I don't think anybody figured Wayne would go undefeated.
Well, I mean, it started, you know, winning 0-2, and then, but look at them now, you know, we played the number 1 team in the state, and then we played the number 6, and then played number 4 a few weeks ago and lost into overtime. So, I mean, we're playing guys in the top 10, so, I mean, we really have a tough schedule.
What do you consider some of the strengths of this team as you look at whenever you guys are doing well and playing well? What are you doing well that helps you guys win?
We have a strong ground game, and that ball control helps us, and our defense, we have an awesome defense. We think we're proud of it. We shut down several people this year, and I know Maysville had less than 100 yards rushing. We had more yards and penalties than they had in rushing.
Do you have to pull any tricks out of your bag to stop the passing team? I mean, some teams like to throw a stunt and a blitz in there every now and then. Of course, that leaves you kind of bare in the secondary if you leave those guys one-on-one out there.
No, just as long as, you know, get our secondary going real good and everything, I think that we can stop the passing game as good as our defensive line is and everything. Just get our secondary in the ball game and take them as we get them.
Ball control kind of game, give the ball to Monty Bishop as many times as you can and try to grind it out. Is that kind of the hope on offense anyway?
We feel that they can't stop our ground game. We're hoping to keep the ball away from them because they're a real explosive team offensively, and we're hoping to keep the ball and move it on.
All right, Kevin Warden and James Bird, a couple of members of the Rush Springs Redskins, and you guys, I think you've had a terrific season. I hope it continues, and I hope in a couple of weeks maybe we'll have a couple more of you guys back, and we'll be talking about going all the way to the state championship game. Good luck to you guys the rest of the way, and we will continue with more of Gridiron 7 right after this.
I think you'll find a large selection of clothing to satisfy any man. Personalized service. We can't stress that enough. Plus, we offer a wide variety of sizes in Mr. Big and Mr. Tall. Our customers trust us. While they're here, we make them feel comfortable. And they're happy when they leave. That's why our customers keep coming back.
With more and more frequency, it's happening. Across the country and right here at home. Generation X.
Much more violence now.
Assault with weapons, carrying weapons.
Juvenile crime. It's an epidemic of violence. Why is it growing? Join Tiffany Sargent as she reports with a special 3-part news series you can't miss. Generation X. November 14th, 15th, and 16th at 6 and 10. Only on Action 7 News.
There's only one late-night TV show that gives you something you can't get somewhere else.
Helicopters passing directly overhead here in Mogadishu.
Only one program that helps make a complex world clear.
This is where the bomb went off.
ABC News Nightline with Ted Koppel.
Let me try one more time. Have you gotten advance notice from the White House?
It's the only show on late-night TV that makes a difference in the morning. Turn up your brightness level. Watch Nightline with Ted Koppel, weeknights.
Welcome back. Now, even though the Wichita Falls schools missed out on the playoffs, Memorial Stadium was still the place to be last week. 3 playoff games there. Area teams played there Thursday and Friday. For Vernon, it was the end of a wacky 4 days. They thought they were playing against Boyd. Turned out that Boyd had an ineligible player. That knocked him out of the playoffs and it put Decatur in. All that happened on Monday and Tuesday, and it changed Vernon's preparation a little bit, but they won it big, and suddenly Vernon looks like another traditional Lion team.
The Vernon Lions, traditionally a top 10 team in District 3A, are in the playoffs once again. But the road to the postseason wasn't as smooth as it was supposed to be. 3 losses before district play even began. The first 2 to Altus and Frederick, and then a tough loss to Hershey that promptly turned their season around.
We thought we had it rolling, and that Hershey game came out, and we just went flat, you know, and then we had a big meeting. We said we got to come together, get ready for district, and work towards the playoffs.
I don't know where it was a wake-up call or not. We had a lot of things happen to us that week, and you know, we had some injuries in the early season. We got some people well, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
From there, the Lions won out, winning all 5 district games without a scratch. Their first win of this year's playoff stretch came against Decatur last Thursday night. An ineligible player eliminated Bowie from the playoffs, the team the Lions would have faced in the first round.
Better than the coaches did. We were a little uptight, you know, because we'd spent so much time preparing for Boyd, and then all of a sudden we're having to play Decatur. And, you know, a big change there. And they came out, you know, and got the job done. We're real proud of them.
It was a big surprise come Monday. You know, we thought it was a rumor going around, found out it was true. And we only really had 1 day to prepare. We knew they'd come out. They didn't have anything to lose. They were going to come out to win this game. And so we prepared as much as we could.
The season has turned around for Vernon, and it's now time to play like the days of old. Michael Parker, Gridiron 7.
And again, Vernon gets a home game in the playoffs this week, taking on River Road. And how about those Archer City Wildcats? You won't hear Coach Tommy Sloan talking about a state championship run just yet, but in the back of his mind, you can bet that he's figuring that this team has an excellent shot at motoring through the playoffs. What he will say is that things will be tougher from now on than they have been all year. The Cats' first-round game with Chico was an extension of the regular season. Finally, the playoffs and a chance to see just how good Archer City really is, or at least that's what some thought. Chico came in at 7-2-1. Archer City came in ranked 2nd, unbeaten and untried, and playing in a stadium, Memorial Stadium, Wichita Falls, where they lost their only game last year by 1 in the playoffs.
This field, we got beat last year on this field. We were out here to kind of redeem ourselves in a way. Came out here to play Chico, but we're playing against a ghost, too.
Quarterback Corey Campbell took the mystery out of this one in a hurry. He scored on 2 nifty runs in the first quarter. Even though the finality of the playoffs can create some butterflies, Campbell said there were none on the Wildcat sidelines.
Not too much. We're real anxious to get here. We're anxious to play, and that was the main concern of most of the people.
So, ho-hum, another shutout for the Archer defense, another field day for the offense. Business as usual for Tommy Sloan's team. Maybe this week they'll see a challenge when they play another unbeaten team, Salina, at Bedford-Pennington Field Friday night.
It's one of those teams that's hard to decide how good we are. We'll probably find out next week for sure.
Should be a great game down there. Now, Holiday won their first-round game by 6. Graham was beaten through the tiebreaker system. They played Springtown. Now, for Oklahoma viewers, Texas does not use overtime. They go through a series of statistical matchups, and the Steers lost out on a first-down comparison with Springtown. It's time for another break. When we come back, you'll see and hear from this week's Athlete of the Week. Michael Parker will have that right after this.
On the next Golden Girls, it's adventures in babysitting.
Even with perfect eyesight, nobody can read one of these things. Oh, my God, it's 103.2.
But everybody's temperature goes up
He isn't feeling very well, so we thought we'd have you over for a drink.
when Blanche gets hot flashes.
I have such a highly developed maternal instinct. Ew.
On the next Golden Girls.
Tuesday night at 10:30 on KSWO TV7.
It's time. Entertainment reporting gave you something extra. Extra.
Close up.
Extra.
Personal.
Extra.
Inside.
Extra.
Different.
Extra.
Entertaining.
Extra. Entertainment from the inside out.
Extra.
The Entertainment Magazine.
Weeknights at 12, Sunday nights at 11:30 on KSWO TV7.
Here at Channel 7, we're dedicated to the weather, better than anybody else in the market, and the people are going to realize that. In fact, they already do. We've built up a very good history of that over the last few years, and that was one of the reasons for coming back, because let me tell you, down here, tornadoes don't get any bigger than what they do in Texoma. And when one comes roaring through your town, you're going to want to watch us for the weather, because we have the best equipment, we have the best weather personnel, and we're going to be there all night long if that's what it takes.
That's why Texomans tune in Forecast Center 7. The Gridiron 7 Athlete of the Week is brought to you by your Oklahoma Country Ford dealer.
You know, I gotta laugh when I hear Dodge and Chevy trying to badmouth Ford trucks. Because the fact is, Ford F-Series has more torque than Chevy, more horsepower than Dodge, plus more payload in a bigger pickup box. And now, during Ford's leadership drive, your Oklahoma Ford dealer is going to offer you something else Dodge and Chevy can't. Low 2.9 financing. Compare that to what they'll give you, and you'll see why we've been outside on them for 17 years running. Ford F-150 now at 2.9 financing. Only at your Oklahoma Ford dealer.
Back to the show. It's time for this week's Gridiron 7 Athlete of the Week, and he is Spencer Braggs, running back for the Eisenhower Eagles. And Spencer, I know it's going to be tough, but what about Friday's game? Obviously a disappointing loss, but you guys played pretty well.
Yeah, we played well on both sides of the ball. I mean, it was a tough, hard-fought game until the fourth quarter, and DeAndre Swanson made a great play. He was heads up. We were kind of down, and I think that what took the air out of all of us. I mean, we fought and scratched and scraped. We knew it was going to be tough second time around, but hey, they're a great team. They deserve to win.
What about the way the season's gone? You guys started out high expectations. I mean, a lot of people say, well, 8th-ranked team in the nation. You guys didn't really play that off. You guys kind of kept that on the back burner. What about the way that the season transpired for you guys? Was it a disappointing season?
No, I don't think it was a disappointing season. I mean, we went through a lot of stuff. I mean, injuries with Marcus Gunn and A.J. Walker. That was probably the two main blows of this team. And then Kevin Lemon did a great job. He stepped up, filled in for both of them. And then I go down later on the season, and that kind of, well, I ain't going to say ended it, because I mean we fought all the way through. It's just it wasn't meant to be. I mean, it was a great season, great time. I made a lot of great friends over this time, and it's just one of those deals you just pick up and go on with your life.
Speaking about the time you spent at Ike, what about the 3 years you played on the team? Your sophomore year, junior year, and now your senior year. What types of things did you learn from the coaching staff and just Eisenhower tradition?
Well, tradition mainly. I mean, the Ike name was really big around here. I mean, those guys before me did a great job with presenting that around, and I felt like I needed to do something and leave something. I mean, the coaching staff was great to me. I mean, they taught me a lot, not even on the field, but off the field, and I'm really proud of that. And I think they taught me a lot of stuff about life, and that's what you really need to gain out of football experience.
Where does Spencer Braggs go from here? College ideas, playing football in the future, what does it hold for you?
Oh, definitely. I'm not going to say where I want to go or anything, but I have gotten contacts to go play college football.
Now for this week's plaque presentation, Mr. Mike Tipton from Howard Smith Ford in Lawton.
Spencer, I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of Oklahoma Country Dealers for being Athlete of the Week. Congratulations, Spencer.
Thank you.
That'll do it from here. More Gridiron 7 right after this.
Your bank can't give it to you. Your credit union can't give it to you. Only your Ford dealer can give it to you. It's 2.9% financing for 48 months on Ford F-150 and Ford Taurus. Only during the Ford Leadership Drive. We're driving to stay #1 with 2.9 financing on America's best-selling car and best-selling truck. Every Taurus and a special allocation of F-150s now with 2.9% financing. Only at the Ford Leadership Drive, only at your Oklahoma Ford dealer.
The Gridiron 7 Athlete of the Week has been brought to you by your Oklahoma Country Ford dealer.
Hey, we're back. How you doing? The area's defending state champs have started off in style, and it would appear that they are more likely to win titles this year than they were last year. Velma started with a shutout win over Empire. Central started with a mercy rule win over Tyrone, and Frederick shut out Jones to open their playoff campaign. The Bombardiers love us in Frederick, and why not? The Bombers have been one of our workhorse teams since Gridiron 7 started way back in the 50s. And it's been a while since we've seen a back like Ben. That's Ryan Ben, of course, and he's pushing 2,000 all-purpose yards for the year. In the Bombers playoff opener with Jones, all he did was score 4 times, 3 on the ground, 1 off a pass from Sidney Gaston. And his backfield mate is no slouch either. Kevin Isham, who tallied on a short sprint, padding his 1,000-yard rushing season. All this from a team that lost its quarterback and a handful of dandy linemen off last year's state championship club. Next up, a rematch with Plainview, a team that Frederick destroyed during their run to the district title this year. And it's a similar story with Central. You know, the thing is, they're just too good. Bronco quarterback Mike Wilson can pass with the best of them, but the Broncos have not been forced to pass during this perfect season. He did get to show off a little in Friday's playoff opener, showing touch on the toss to Sean Chaney. But again, it was the running game. Huge holes opened by the Bronco front for Chuck Kettner. He scored from 14, 41, and 45 yards out. Wilson finished with 3 touchdown passes in the route. He was also perfect in the kicking department, including a 34-yard field goal. Is there anything he can't do? He can't lose, or so it seems. Chances are Central won't be challenged till the finals, where they just may hook up again with arch rival Grandfield. Now, Snyder is not among the defending state champs. They are in Class B, where Morrison has owned the crown for 600 years now. The Cyclones are on the other side of the bracket, though, so they wouldn't meet Morrison until the finals. Snyder scored 61 in their first-round win, and they play area rival Mountain View Gotebo this Saturday. And joining us now in the studio from Snyder, Shane Hahn, a fullback and defensive end closest to me, and Charlie Hilliard, who plays on the offensive front. Fellas, thanks for coming over. And to me, it looks like you've had a pretty good season. How do you think things have gone for Snyder so far this year?
They've gone okay, but the first year we had trouble, you know, with the better teams we played right off the bat. And just other than that, everything's been working okay with us so far. We're working on our defense and getting things going.
Shane mentioned playing some of the better teams off the bat. I guess one of the teams you're probably referring to is Grandfield. Had a pretty good game with those guys. What do you remember about that game? And even though maybe you come out on the short end of that one, was there something that you could have gained from that, knowing that that's a Grandfield team that has competed for state championships in the past?
Yeah, I mean, they played, I mean, they played in a few championship games, and they had some good backs and stuff, and, you know, we knew we had to come out and try to do pretty good, and we was kind of nervous. We were starting a few young guys, you know, and it was pretty tough.
What do you know about Mountain View Gotebo? You have these guys coming up this week. I don't know if you had a chance to look at any game film or get any kind of a scouting report, but what do you know about those guys? What do you have to do to win that one?
Well, we have to go out there and play ball. You know, it's a tough team, and, you know, they're one of the top teams in the state, you know, guarantee that. But we just got to go out there and, you know, do our jobs and execute and do everything right.
When you guys are playing well, Charlie, what's working for you best as far as, let's say, offense and defense?
Well, when we're blocking Gary, you know, he can do pretty much whatever he wants to do with the ball. And
I guess he did last week.
Yeah, yeah, just give it to him. And, I mean, Joe, our second-string tailback, come in, you know, taking place of Tony, and he's done a good job. So, you know, it's still going to be a tough game. It's playoffs.
At the beginning of the year, did you believe that this is where the team would be at this point? Was this a goal that you guys had set up, or given the fact that you did have a lot of young guys on the team, did you think maybe we're just putting a cart before the horse to think about playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Coach, you know, kind of got with us and asked us if we was going to, you know, make this year one that would go further than last year or something, you know, and we all agreed to it, and we're just trying our best to do it.
Got a Saturday game. Does that mess things up? I don't know if you've ever, I mean, as far as your game preparation, you're used to going to school and having a pretty set routine, and now on Saturday you have to get back into the game. Does that mess anything up? Or
no,
is that...
not really, because we had a game last year on Saturday, and we played pretty good, so we're looking forward to it. You know, it's quarterfinals, so it's be there, I guess.
All right. Well, Charlie Hilliard and Shane Hahn from the Snyder Cyclones, thanks a lot, guys, for coming over. Good luck to you guys the rest of the way. Okay. And we will take another break. And when we come back, it's time to pick them this week, so you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned.
Whatever the season, Merce Guns & Duncan has what you need for that perfect Christmas gift. This Browning Bug Mark 22 pistol is only $209 or $21.41 per month. This Christmas, give a Browning high-power 9mm pistol, just $449 or $44.95 per month. At Merce Guns in Duncan, you can lay away now for Christmas. We accept all major credit cards and financing is available. Just give us a call at 1-800-228-MURF.
And welcome back to the big show. Time for our ever-popular Pick'em segment. And, of course, as you know, we send Parker all around the place, and so he joins us now live from the friendly confines of our newsroom. Michael Parker, how are things going there for you, huh?
Hey, Dave, it's going pretty good. I didn't think you were going to let me on this week.
Well, I know, but I decided at the last minute that we had to get you on. Can you put the sandwich down for long enough to help us out with Pick'ems?
Yeah.
Okay, last week, of course, we both went 4-1 for the season now. I've got a 2-game lead, so you have to make up a lot of ground in a short time, pal.
No problem.
8-man action, Mountain View, Godeyville against Snyder. I'm going to take MVG.
I like the Cyclones. They got a good team. You saw the guys out there. I think they can really pull it off.
Okay, Granfield taking on Balco up in the Panhandle. Granfield's look good. The only loss to Central.
Yeah, Balco's only got one loss too, but I think Granfield could pull it out.
Okay, Archer City against Salina. Undefeated's battling here. I don't know, until the Wildcats get challenged. I kind of like AC.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with you on that one, Dave.
3A action, Vernon against Amarillo River Road. And River Road has kind of been underappreciated. I like River Road in this game.
Yeah, they really have, but I spent some time talking with the Vernon guys. I really like them. I think they can pull it out and move on.
And on Monday Night Football, it's Buffalo against Pittsburgh, and I'll take the Bills.
Pittsburgh's taking a bite out of the Bills tonight, Dave.
All right. Enjoy your sandwich. We'll send you someplace next week, I promise. We hope to see you next week on Gridiron 7.
Gridiron 7 has been a presentation of KSWO TV7. Join us next Monday night at 7:30 for another edition of Gridiron 7.
Over Jones is our Athlete of the Week, senior running back Ryan Ben.
Ben scored 3 touchdowns carrying the football, this 20-yarder, a 48-yarder, and one from 3 yards out on his way to 121 yards rushing. The senior running back also hauled in this 55-yard scoring strike from Sidney Gaston. Ben says Friday night's performance has the Bombers thinking about repeating last year's run through the playoffs to a state title.
The first round of the playoffs, and I think our team was ready to play because they want to go back to where we came from last year. So everybody got together and played real hard, and that's what made me so successful that night.
Ben has accumulated over 1,900 all-purpose yards this season, and Bomber head coach Ed Jones thinks the best is yet to come.
And he's been playing well all year, but he seems to be getting a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger as games go on.
Frederick plays Plainview High School in the Class 3A state quarterfinals Friday night in the Bomber Bowl.
And a tremendous ovation for Miss Dana Bagwell as she does a fantastic job on the national anthem. We'll be back with some of the other starting lineups just prior to kickoff. Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 in Frederick. But 190 junior, a replacement will be number 63 at center, and that will be Brian Farrington, a sophomore, 6'1", 170. At right guard, Billy Clark, 6'2", 240 senior. Right tackle, Jeremy Wilson, 6'2", 260 junior, and probably the premier lineman, one of the premier linemen for the Jones Longhorn offense, as he is being looked at by the University of Nebraska. Also, number 5, Eddie Houston, as the Frederick Bombers come on the field. Number 5, Eddie Houston, 6'2", 165 senior, and he will be sharing some playing time with Sean Estep, a 5'10", 150 senior. Tim Lowe will be the starting quarterback for the Jones Longhorns. He is a 5'10", 160 senior, and number 41, Nick Weiss, is a 5'11", 180 senior. He will be sharing time, and even though he may not even get the start, as we heard from the head coach right at the last moment, Steve Cordell very likely may go ahead and get that start tonight. And Cordell is a junior, 6'3", 231, so he is a rather large fullback. Calvin Russell is the tailback. He is 6'1", 175 junior. And, Alan, one thing we might want to say, along with Gatewood, number 25, 6'2", 165 senior receiver, is Lowe, Russell, and Gatewood, I believe, were three of the young men that were on the 400-meter relay championship 3A team in track last spring.
That's right, Mike. They do have some speed. They have the size. You know, they've had a season that's not maybe as successful as they had wished it would be. But there is the talent on that team.
They do have a lot of good speed, and as you heard the sizes as I read them off, they are 283, 240, 260, 165, 213, 5'10", and Jones has Jones will receive, and it looks like deep is number 30, and that will be and Allen, just as I say, number 30, we don't have a number for him. 86 in there is Sean Estep, and also number 33 will be Jason Jaggard. And I can guarantee you right now, the way things go, they will kick it to number 30 since we don't have his name.
Mike, I think we're in for an exciting night. If the Bombers will come out and tend to business, play the kind of ball that we all know they're capable of playing, they should come away from here with a win. If they kind of come out and mess around, this is a do-or-die deal. When you hit the playoffs, you lose a game, you go home. Football's over. And you can bet Jones is not coming over here tonight probably with that on their mind. So they're going to probably come out and try to play some football.
So we're about to be underway here in the round one of the Frederick Schoolboy Prep football playoffs as Blake Bolton approaches the ball, and he kicks. It will be taken on a fair catch and fumbled, but the Longhorns will recover as it was kicked to about the 26-yard line and then fumbled there by Cordell. And Cordell's fumble is recovered by one of his teammates, and the Horns will take it at the that will be the 29-yard line. And Lowe is the quarterback as he brings his team up to the line. They have a broken formation, and the left guard jumps for the Horns. And, Alan, rather than calling them Jones Longhorns, I think I'm going to have to call them the Horns and probably leave off the Jones most of the time because otherwise I'll be talking about Coach Jones, the town Jones, and I'll get all mixed up here.
Don't worry about it. I'll keep you straight.
Yards. The ball will be moved back to the 24, be 1st and 15, as Lowe brings the Horns up to the line of scrimmage. Neese will get the ball, the fullback, the big fullback, and check that. I believe that may be Cordell. We'll see when they get up, and he will be met at the line of scrimmage. And that is Cordell, number 8, getting the start in the place of Weiss, as the coach said that he had suffered an injury and very possibly might not start tonight.
and of them had a hold to that guy on the way down.
And Gatewood, that would be a loss of 1. It will be 2nd and 16 as Gatewood comes to this side for the Horns. Hand off to the big tailback, and he will go ahead for about 4-yard gain. And that's Russell as he goes over the right side, over right tackle. And let's give him about 4, and that will bring up a 3rd and 11.
Right, Mike. If you don't get him pretty quick and let him get some momentum, he's going to be hard to bring down.
And Horns break the eye and go into the broken bone as Gatewood goes in motion. The quarterback slips now, is about to pass out in the flat, and that's complete and tackled right at the line of scrimmage by Cheyenne Clark. And there will be for no gain as Calvin Russell went out to the left side, and he was met right as soon as he caught the ball by the cornerback and also the linebacker, and Cheyenne Clark was able to drive him out of bounds as Cordell, the punter, will go into the punting formation. Back deep will be Ryan Ben and Bolton. The kick hits at the 45, taken by Ben at the 45, then gets back to the 48 as it was a short kick and bounced once, and Ryan Ben took it up, or picked it up off the carpet and gets it back to around the 48-yard line. This will be the first drive for the Bombers.
I'll tell you what, Mike, you saw some of the speed then from the Jones Longhorns. They got down the field very quickly on the ball, just almost as quick as the ball hit the ground. They were right there to meet Ryan Ben.
And as we expected, the Horns will try to stack that line of scrimmage and prevent the Bombers from running. The first play from scrimmage is a pass to Hilburn, and there was a lot of pushing there between Hilburn and number 5 for the Longhorns. And there is no flag, as of course the fans wanted a flag and it looked like they were pushing off on each other, but Houston protects on the ball, and Allen, they had a chance of going all the way, but it was just a little bit past Hilburn's outstretched hands. Ball is incomplete, be 2nd and 10.
Right, Mike. He got outside. Sidney had very good pass protection, had all the time in the world to throw the ball, just didn't quite hit the mark.
2nd and 10 for the Bombers as they tried to pass on the first play of the game. There's a fumble, and Gaston picks it up as there was a bad exchange, and Gaston picked it up and is able to go straight ahead for about 2 yards. No, they say I guess they said his knee touched.
Right, Mike. When he bent over to pick the football up, he was down on one knee, and that's where the ball will be called dead.
So he's not able to do anything here on this 3rd down play. Ball right at the 48 in Bomber territory. Gaston goes back to pass, has some time, looks deep, complete. Now it's incomplete as Clarence Allen had it, was hit, and the ball squirted straight backwards. And the referees will call it incomplete.
Tell you what, Mike, right there is a good example of maybe just trying to run with the ball a little bit too quickly. He didn't watch it all the way into his hands. The ball did hit him right in the hands. He just tried to turn and run with it just an instant too quick and didn't get the handle on the ball.
So the Bombers misfire on a couple of plays, but Ryan Ben will be back in punting formation now. And it is a good snap. There's the punt, good punt. A fair catch is called for at the 16-yard line, and that will be taken in by number 86, and that will be Sean Easted. We have a minute timeout. We'll be back. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick. The 16 by the Longhorns, and Allen, the Bombers actually had 2 opportunities out of those first 3 downs to have big plays, and it just didn't happen.
You bet, Mike. Maybe a little hyped up. First round of the playoffs. Boy, a lot of excitement. Players looking forward to it all week coming in here tonight, and just need to settle down a little bit and play football.
Gatewood goes out to the left. There's a fumble on the play, and the Bombers, along with the Horn, scramble for it. And looks like the quarterback Lowe is able to come back up with the ball as there was a bad exchange. And there will be a loss of 1 as they spot it down at the 15. And as they put it down, let's give them about a loss of 3.
A lot of penetration up front on that line.
And I believe Nick Weiss is in the game now at fullback for the Horns. As Lowe pitches out to number 20, and he sheds 1 tackle and will get around the left side, has some running room, and will get close to the first down as that was Calvin Russell who shows his strength as he was tackled around or hit around the 5-yard line and kept fighting forward, and will be out of bounds around the 18-yard line, as they look like he had a little bit more than that. He stepped up.
Broke the tackle, got outside, however, he did step out of bounds on the far side.
Weiss and Russell behind Lowe for the Horns, and goes back to pass. As Lowe looks down the middle of the field, and it will be incomplete, as Gatewood was looking over the wrong shoulder, and he was open, Allen, but the ball was thrown over the other shoulder and falls incomplete around the 50-yard line.
Mike, good fake by the Jones Longhorns. Bombers pursue very well. Quarterback under a lot of pressure, had to throw the ball long, and if the number 25, which would have been Telly Gatewood, had been looking for the ball, he might have had a chance to make that catch.
4th and 8, and one of the Bombers jumped as they broke the line of scrimmage, broke the plane, and we'll see if they were drawn offsides. But as the referees are discussing this, and the neither team has started backwards yet, so the Bombers clapping their hands, they were drawn offsides. So rather than facing a 4th and 8, it will be 4th and 13. Allen, this would be a great time for Ryan Ben or Blake Bolton run one of these things all the way back.
You bet. I'd even take a block punt or tackle back in the backfield right now, Mike. I'm not going to be greedy tonight.
Either way, and of course, Ryan Ben has had a lot of success on kickoffs and running back both the kickoff and a couple of punts for touchdowns this year. Cordell will be standing at his own goal line. There's a snap, and almost blocked. He does get it off, and it will be taken by Blake Bolton. He will be hit immediately at his 48-yard line, and there is we thought there might be a fumble for a second, the way the Jones players are jumping up down, but the official has blown it dead, and the Bombers will have the ball at their about the 46-yard line in.
Maybe they were just jumping up and down because they got him tackled.
I think that's right. And once again, the Longhorns get down the field very, very fast on those punts. Be 1st and 10 for the Bombers. They'll hand off to Isham over the left side, and Kevin Isham will fight straight ahead for about 4 yards as the line of scrimmage was opened up for him, and the linebacker's doing a good job to prevent him from getting more than that.
Mike, there you saw an example. You talked earlier in the broadcast about the size of the Longhorns on that defensive line. They are very big, and they are quick, and they're hard to get through. If you can get through them, you've got a chance with their smaller secondary, but that line is very large.
And they've stacked the line pretty close. There's a handoff straight up the middle, and Kevin Rocket Isham powers ahead for the first down as he just kept his feet moving. The impressive thing about that is there were about 3 linemen. He was just right against their back, and they were all moving down the field.
I'll tell you what, Mike, looked like a big bull pulling a sled. They just had about 3 of them draped on his back, and he drug them all the way to make the first down.
And that will be a first down at the 33 in Longhorn territory. Bombers trying to drive here. This is their second drive. There is no score in this first quarter. Hand off to Ryan Ben, has some running room up the middle to the 20, and goes across the 20 down to the 16-yard line. As Ryan Ben found a opening on the counter play, and we'll get down to the 16. That will be a first down.
Mike takes the counter, comes back across towards the left, just grabbed him, and he carried him right on for a little ways.
And it will be 1st and 10 at the 16 as Bombers threatening here in the first quarter. No score, and number 77, the big defensive nose guard, Jeremy Wilson, sees that there might be some movement, and we're going to see who they call this on again, as it looked like they will call it evidently on the Bombers, as there was some motion, and I guarantee you big number 77 came across and put the really unnecessary hit on the on Brandon Phillips, I'm sure.
But you're right, he was a little rough there. Looked like he wasn't trying to kill anybody, didn't look like, but he did come across that line awfully hard.
So we'll be 1st and 15 now as the ball's moved back to about the 23. Hand off to Kevin Isham, and he does a spin move at the 20 and gets very close down to the 19, and that will be a gain of about 3. We'll see as they say it's right 20, so it's a gain of about 2. We'll be
once again, there you saw the size of that Longhorn line. They're very tough up front.
And the Longhorns have 5 men on line of scrimmage during them. And Brian Ben goes to the outside, has some running room at the 5, into the touchdown. And don't see any flags, so that will count. As Ryan Ben went over the right side and then cut very sharply back out to the outside and went to the corner of the end zone, and the Bombers will score from the 20-yard line on the sake of Ryan Ben's run. Very good blocking up front, Alan. He was just able to hit the middle and then cut back to the outside.
Mike, good blocking then by the Bomber offense. We watched some of this film earlier in the week, just exactly what happened, thought it might. If you can get past that big line and get into that secondary, you've got a chance to have a little running room.
Brandon Phillips on to do the snap, and Jay Carpenter will be doing the holding. William Martin to attempt this extra point. The snap is good. The kick is up, and it is no good as it drifts off the left side. And look like in a timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.
Attention. For bulk feeding, they have bulk feed dispensers available. For all of your winter feeding needs, call or come by Cassidy Grain Company, the only complete agri-center serving southwest Oklahoma. Call 335-2104.
Blake Bolton is about to kick off. There's Blake Bolton's kick, and this time it will go deep, taken at the 4-yard line and fumbled, and now picked up by Allen, number 30, just exactly what we said would happen, and we don't have his name.
That's right, Mike, and I don't know who he is. Did a pretty good job running the ball back. He got upfield. However, they did shut him down about the 20-yard line, and good coverage by the Bomber kickoff team.
21, Bombers missing the extra point after that 20-yard run by me, and they lead 6-0 here with 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. There's a handoff to the fullback, Weiss, and Weiss will get short yardage as he tries to go up the middle. Allen, in watching the film this afternoon where Jones was playing, I believe, Newcastle, their big plays were the option, the fullback off that option, and
They do have that size. That is one big advantage this team has, along with the speed off the relay team that's all playing football.
And they hand off on a little inside reverse back to Gatewood, and Gatewood will be stopped at the line of scrimmage. He may indeed have lost a little yards, and they move it back about a foot. It'll be a 3rd down and 9.
The size out there that the Jones boys have, and they're handling themselves very well.
We'll see as Lowe comes back. He looks like he's going to pass. Now throws a pass out here, and it is complete. And that's complete to Gatewood, who will be very close to the 1st down, and he was drilled out of bounds and hit out by Hilburn. And we'll see where they mark this. They say it's good enough for the 1st down. Actually, to Gatewood's credit, Alan, I thought that ball was going to be overthrown out of bounds, and he was able to snag it just as he stepped out.
Right.
Cornerbacks, one of these guys is going to pick one of those off here in a minute. The Jones Longhorns go to an I as they go back to pass. Again, intended for Gatewood, and Gatewood drops the ball as he was at the halfback slot in the power I, and the ball goes incomplete right around the 36, 37-yard line. Allen, they're trying to do a little bit more passing than they've shown in the past several games since.
Need to catch that ball, because that's just exactly what it looked like.
Gatewood and Lucas, the 2 receivers, come to the left. I look as Lowe hands off to Weiss, the fullback, and Weiss, a big, strong guy, as he's able to power ahead for about 3 yards. And Weiss, very tough to get down if he gets any momentum at all.
Right, Mike. If you'll watch him, he just kind of leans on the back of one of those big linemen and just follows him through that hole.
7 now. Ball at the 34. They will need to get out to about the 42, 42 and a half. Lowe goes back to pass again, throws across the inside, and it's batted down by Shea Woodall and Stone, I believe, one of them. I believe it
number 71, Mike Chad Stone comes up in the air, and of course, Chad playing with a broken bone in his left hand. You've got to have a lot of admiration. Kid takes a little ding. It's not real serious. However, it is a broken bone. They put it in a cast, bandage it up, and he comes right back and goes back to playing. And boy, that's determination and a lot of desire.
And Cordell kicks again. This will be taken on a fair catch by Blake Bolton, and he will fair catch it around the 36-yard line.
Tonight, just as they have in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I believe every week they might have, you've seen some improvement in that Bomber defense.
And the Longhorns have 8 men within about 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. Handoff to Rodney, or excuse me, about to give Rodney another carry. Kevin Isham, and Kevin Isham will cross the 40 down to the 41, and speed.
Right, Mike, good job of running the ball then by Kevin. Comes over the left side of that line, just kind of hurdles his first man, and a good 5-yard gain.
Be 2nd and 5 for the Bombers. There's the option play as Isham has some running room. He's running over 3 to 4 folks and goes down to the 42-yard line as he ran over someone at the 50, someone around the 46-yard line, and he finally is brought down around the 42-yard line. That will be good for the first down.
Mike, I'm going to tell you what, he ran over one Jones player who I think was wanting out of his way, and he was just hit him so hard and so fast, he didn't have a chance, and he just carried him backwards about 4 yards.
And that will be a 1st and 10 on the 42-yard line. Ball in Jones Longhorns territory. And again, everyone goes except the center and quarterback. So that will bring up a 5-yard penalty, I'm sure, as it's pretty hard to disguise when 5 people jump across the line and the ball hadn't been snapped yet.
Mike, I believe we had to have a mix-up on the count then because Sidney's feet were moving and he didn't have the ball. Had to be a mix-up on the snap count.
And bear in mind that Brandon Phillips has big number 77 across from him, and I guarantee you he is up to the challenge as he has been doing a good job blocking him all night. That will be a 1st and 15 for the Bombers as they need to overcome this, keep this drive alive. They're leading 6-0 in this first quarter. Handoff to Ryan Ben on the option play, and he will go ahead over the right side for a short gain. 1:47 left. The Bombers leading 6-0 here in the first quarter.
Very good football up on that front line.
Well, it's kind of a situation. You're either going to have a 3-yard run, and they're going to stop you, or you're going to break one big the way they're playing right now. There's a pitch outside. Isham has some running room to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 20. There's a flag on the play, and it will be knocked out down around the 15-yard line as there is a flag on the play. And Ryan Ben standing back there by it. That may be holding. We'll check that, but it looks like that probably will negate that long run. And it is a holding call against the Bombers. And as we were saying about tying him up on the inside, they got around the corner and he had a lot of running room.
That's right, Mike. We've talked about the Jones Longhorn speed. The Frederick Bombers showing a little of their own then.
And that is going to be a shame because the ball was down around the area of the 10-yard line. But that one will come back as things kind of going here to the favor of the Longhorns. And rather than the 1st and 10 around the right outside the 10, it will bring up a 2nd and about 20. Actually, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 22, 23. They will have to get down to the 33 in Longhorn territory for this first down. And the lone setback will be Isham as Ryan Ben goes in motion. Gaston goes back to pass. Looks down deep in the middle. There's Ryan Ben. He's in the open. He's at the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. There is no flag. It is a touchdown. On the 40, that would be a 55-yard pass as Ryan Ben was wide open and actually had a couple of Longhorns either side of him, and Gaston put that ball up in the air, and Ryan Ben with that burst of speed, I can't believe he got there, but he ran into that ball, Alan.
Mike, I'm going to tell you what, you won't see high school football executed any better than that. Ryan comes on a slant across the middle of the field. Sidney backs up, very good pass protection, just throws the ball up, throws a strike right to Ryan. He ran
2 points. You're listening to KYB 95.9. Let's take a 30-second timeout. Frederick Bombers needed to go from their 45, and they do indeed get the first down. They go from their 45 all the way down for the touchdown. As beautiful a pass as you have ever seen, Alan, and it goes 55 yards for the touchdown. And rather than Frederick calling the timeout, Jones calls the timeout, and Frederick will go for 2 here. They are leading 12-0 with 1:07 left to go in this first quarter.
That's Ryan's 5th reception of the year and his first touchdown by pass.
And our statistician, as you probably heard in the background, and I don't know, they didn't give us a minute timeout, but evidently there was some problem, and they're about to get this thing going again. But the Frederick Bombers scoring long distance on that 55-yard scoring pass. They will come up to the line now and go for 2 as they lead 12-0 here. And they will have this on the extra point from the 3-yard line and try to get 2 out of this. Carpenter goes in motion for the Bombers. And Gaston hands off over the right side, and it is good. And that will be, when he finally gets up, that will be number...
I think that offensive line, they just exploded off that ball and pushed the Longhorns into the end zone right with them. Good blocking by that offensive line and a good run. 2 points go on the board.
And that was Isham who was able to get in. And as Alan said, the offensive line actually had the defensive line in the end zone as Kevin crossed the plane, I believe. So credit that good offensive line up there for the Bombers, and they go ahead 14-0. And then they're been playing Woodall, Stone, Blankenship, Martin, Wilson, Brandon Phillips, also Clay Johnson been going in there some, William Martin, John Mitchell, doing a good job on that offensive line as Blake Bolton tees up the ball at the 40-yard line. And we have 1:07 if you just joined us. Bombers leading 14-0 over the Jones Longhorns.
I tell you what, Mike, we've got an extra hand here in the booth tonight. Holt Hagee sitting here kind of keeping an eye on his dad. You want to say hi to your mom or anything, Holt? Doesn't want to say anything, but Deborah, he's here, and Mike's taking real good care of him.
And he's our gopher. He's been going for cokes and everything. There's a high kick as it will hit right and be taken at the out of bounds. And then the receiver stepped out of bounds. The ball was right on the out of bounds marker and looked like it might go out, and then it just hit and kind of backed up like you'd be hitting a 9-iron onto the green, and it will be out of the number 33. And that was number 33 was Jason Jaggard comes up with the ball and is
out of bounds too, because he was not going anywhere.
Well, he was like the rest of it. He thought it was going to go out of bounds, and it just stopped right there, so he didn't have a choice. Lowe at quarterback pitches back to the tailback, and he will get right back to the line of scrimmage and then across, and that will be Russell. Calvin Russell gets about, we'll give him 1.5 or 2 yard line, or 2 yards as he gets up across the 15, about the 17. Blankenship, Miller in there, Woodall doing a good job along with linebackers Johnson and Clark. Lowe on the little counter play, hands off back to Russell, and Russell breaks the tackle, comes across the 30 to the 35, across the 35 out to the 39. And there's another situation where Russell was going to be tackled right at the line of scrimmage, and he was able to break that tackle and lumber on out to the 39-yard line and the first down.
And Mike, there again, you saw an example of that Longhorn speed.
16 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Bombers leading 14-0 as Lowe hands off to now he throws on the option, and it's a wild pitch, and it will go out of bounds at the 28-yard line. And that was a situation now, and they faked the fullback, and then he pitched out. The only problem is his pitch man had gone the other direction.
Right, Mike. I'd like to see him run that play all night long. We just had a score come in the second quarter. Granville leads Oregon, I believe, 20-0.
And that will be a lock it up.
That ball rolled a long ways across the grass, Mike.
Again, we have the eye look as Gatewood is a halfback, and they looking for Gatewood. And now Lowe is under pressure. Now he gets out of pressure and looking, and will be throwing down in the field, and it is incomplete. And that's the end of the first quarter. That was a pretty wild play as Lowe was under pressure, got out of it. Looked like he might be close to crossing the line of scrimmage, and all is for naught as it goes incomplete intended for the fullback, Weiss.
Mike, I'll tell you what, he had about awfully lot of room to run the ball, and however he elected to make the pass. Good pass coverage by the Frederick Bombers, good hard hit. Ball comes up incomplete.
Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYBE 95.9 Frederick.
Some great home-style cooking at everyday low prices. Stop by Harper's Restaurant, 1000 South Main in Frederick.
And Lowe goes back, throws a long pass, and it's a wounded duck. It will be bounced up there and is not intercepted. That had shades of the Marlowe game where about 3 Bombers hit it straight up in the air, but no one was able to come down with it.
Well, Mike, I tell you what, the ball looked like a wounded duck coming through the air, was thrown real high, coming down right in the middle of about 3 Bombers. If we just had 1 or 2 less Bombers there, that would have been an interception.
And that brings up a 4th and 20 play, and back to kick is Cordell. Cordell almost gets it blocked, but gets off a pretty good kick and will be taken by Ryan Ben. And I thought they called the fair catch, and Blake Bolton called the fair catch, but Ryan Ben caught the ball, and that will go as a fair catch, because if either one of those young men signals a fair catch, then it will stand. So the ball will be fair caught at the 42-yard line.
Mike, Bombers take over here, real good field position. Ball every minute that'll go by from then on. The Longhorns will have to have a lot of air let out of their sails.
And they indeed have some problems, as they are going to take a timeout, and we will take another 30-second timeout. You're listening to KYBE 95.9 Frederick. And there is some discussion on the field, as I believe the head coach for the Longhorns, as Ryan Ben caught that ball and took about 3 or 4 steps, I'm sure he is trying to discuss why there wasn't a penalty. And I know if you call for a fair catch and then take off running, it is a penalty. And when you're in a situation where someone else on the field does it, I'm not sure exactly where that comes into effect, Alan, so I'll plead ignorance on that.
Right, Mike, that has to be the case of what happened. Blake Bolton, who did signal the fair catch, was off to the left of Ryan Ben, who should have had his eyes on the ball and was not aware that the fair catch call was made. And my guess would be that is the reasoning that there wasn't a penalty call.
And we'll see what they're doing now, as that timeout was taken by the Jones Longhorns, and that's the second of this half. It's 11:46 to go in the second quarter. The Frederick score that will be called in to us on the Tipton-Balco game. That game being played at Balco in the Pandale. 1st and 10 for the Bombers at their own 42-yard line. There's a handoff to Ryan Ben. Ryan is still on his feet as he drags several of the Horns up to the 48, past the 48, just short of the 49, and that will be a gain of approximately 7 yards.
Stronger driving those legs and carrying that ball up the middle. Good job of running the ball in by Ryan Ben.
Bring up a 2nd and 3 on the 47-yard line in Bomber territory. Gaston goes back. Now he hands off on the draw to Ben, and Ben will get to the 50-yard line right in the middle of the helmet that's drawn on the field. That will be short about a yard of the 1st and 10, brings up a 3rd, and we'll call it 2. 30.
It's just kind of like running into a brick wall when it's not.
There'll be an official timeout as number 5, that's Houston for the Longhorns, has an equipment problem with his helmet, and he will go over to the sideline, and they will give him, now he looks like that he has it under control and got that snap fixed, so it will be 3rd and 2. The Bombers need to get down to around the 48-yard line, ball resting right on the 50 on this drive here in the second quarter. Bombers leading 14-0. Handoff to Isham, and he will be very close. Looks like he does have the first down. We'll see where they spot it. And they turn and look at it, and they say it is a first down, as Isham's able to get a little bit more than 2 yards, and it will be 1st and down, 1st and 10 at the 48-yard line just across.
And he showed its strength and power again, as he's done all year long.
split backfield for the Bombers as Gaston looks over the defense, pitches out to Ryan Ben, has some running room to the 40, to the 35, 30, to the 20, to the 15, 10, 5. Does he stay in? Yes, it's touchdown. Ryan Ben, 48 yards on the pitch, and like we said before, the Longhorns are stacking the line of scrimmage, and the Bombers just pitched it outside, and Ryan Ben was able to outrun a couple of the Longhorns, which is a pretty good feat, Alan, and races 48 yards for the touchdown.
Mike, it really is. The Jones Longhorns do have a lot of quickness on that team. As you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, they do have the state championship track team in the 400-meter relay, I do believe, and Ryan just showed them nothing but dust.
They got to about the 5-yard line and looked like he might have a chance of going out of bounds, able to keep his feet in bounds and go on by. Ryan now has a 108 yards with that touchdown run. On the kick, the extra point will be William Martin. There's a snap. The kick is up, and it is no good. This one goes off to the right, and William Martin kicks the ball very high, but it's both of these, just his first one and this one now, just drift a little bit wide of the goalpost.
Right, Mike. William doing a good job on the extra points all year long. However, I believe last week he came out of the game with a hip pointer, had quite a bit of pain, nothing serious, but it was kind of a nagging injury there for a day or two. And that
Clive here at Bomber Bowl, where the Frederick Bombers have taken a 20-0 lead here, 10:06 left to go in the second quarter. A score from Lawton High with 6 minutes left to go in the first half, 0, Lawton Ike 0. So a hard-fought contest over there as Blake Bolton is about to kick off. And back deep for the for the Longhorns will be a couple players, and it looks like number 86 has some running room, and now it closes down quickly on him about the 18, and that's Sean Estep. As Sean Estep had a opening for just a second, and then the Bombers shut it down quickly, and he will be knocked down around the 17, 18-yard line. Longhorns had very poor field position on the basis of that kick at the 18-yard line. Low there, again, the quarterback, and he fumbles the ball, and there's a scramble for it. We'll see, as a lot of the Bombers and the Longhorns are scrambling for it. And the Bombers say they have it, and they do indeed have it. We'll see who comes up, and I believe it might have been Stone who was able to come up with that, as he slaps a couple of the hands, either Stone or Woodall, both of them the last to get up. And the Bombers will have it at the 19-yard line, and this is beginning to look a little bit like Medill last week.
You bet, Mike. Jason Stone having a good game tonight. He, I believe, is the one batted the pass down earlier in the game. There he has a fumble recovery. Good night for the young senior Bomber.
Well, Jason graduated, but Chad's not doing bad.
Well.
And there's a handoff to Isham, and Isham's still on his feet. Kevin Isham will get ahead for about 3 or 4 yards, and you've corrected me, Alan. I really enjoyed having that opportunity.
That's the reason I made that mistake. I was trying to make you feel better about the one you made earlier tonight.
And we'll call it a long 6. And the Bombers need to get 16 yards here to get into the end zone. They're leading 20-0, 8:32 left to go in this second quarter. There's a handoff to Isham again. He struggles forward over a herd of people and kind of rolls over the pile, and he gets down around the 12-yard line. That will be, this giving him about 3.5, and that will bring up a third down and a long 3.
So that line, that's pretty tough to run over.
And you can see this team is, I believe, 6-4. They've had a lot of success, and they have some good players. Again, Kevin Isham hands the ball off. The ball's handed off to him, and Cordell knifes through for the Longhorns, and Isham will be tackled right at the line of scrimmage. You don't see that very often, Alan. Kevin Isham stopped for no gain.
No, Mike, and I'll tell you what, you got to commend those Jones Longhorns. That's
up a 4th down and 3. Bombers need to get down around the 8-yard line for the first down. Split backs are still Isham and Ben. There's the option to Isham, and he will go straight ahead. And look like there might be a fumble. We'll check it. And there is a fumble as Isham lost the ball down very close to the yardage needed for the 1st and 10. and I don't think he ever really had it on that option play, and the ball will go over to the Longhorns as they prevent the killer blow there with the Bombers leading 20-0. They'll have it at their own 10-yard line, 1st and 10.
What's happened here? They're very deep in their own territory.
Lowe looking over the line. Gatewood goes in motion, and now they'll hand it to Gatewood, and that is a deal where Gatewood comes in motion from the right and is handed the ball as he goes by on really a very short reverse, and the Bombers have it sniffed out. They'll give him one. They'll bring up a 2nd and 9.
It's pretty tough running tonight.
And with 6:10 left to go in the second quarter, Bombers leading 20-0. Longhorns down on their own 10-yard line. They hand off to the big tailback, and he's still needs speed, and Shea Woodall and Russell are wrestling each other, and Shea Woodall wins that battle as Russell will be stopped for about a yard loss, a yard and a half loss, and brings up a 3rd and 11, and that looked like two bulls pushing on each other, and Shea Woodall won that match.
You bet.
Go in this first half, Bombers leading 20-0, 3rd, and we'll call it 11. Ball's back around the 9. Lowe hands off to the 20, that's Russell, and Millard Parks comes up and does about the same thing that Shea Woodall did and stuffs Russell, and that will be a loss of about another yard, or let's make that a loss of 2, and that will be a 4th down and 13 or 13 and a half as Cordell comes on for the Longhorns. There he'll be standing at the back of the end zone and try to get this ball out. Cordell gets a very low kick, and Ben will have to stay away from it as it was a very low kick, about 6-7 foot off the ground all the way down, much like a kickoff, and it will be blown dead around the 36-yard line, and the Bombers will have it with 4:39 left to go in this first half, trying to get on the scoreboard and put some more points there.
Not going to get it blocked. Bombers take over very good field position.
In the second quarter, Balco 17, Tipton 0. 1st and 10 for the Bombers from their own 36, and they hand off to Ryan Ben up the middle, has some running room straight up the middle down to the 21-yard line as he is propelled from the 36 down to around the 21-22 now, as it looks like they're going to spot it and give him another good run right up the middle. There'll be a 1st and 10.
All those big boys and picks up good yardage on the run.
1st and 10 at the 22 as Carpenter goes in motion for the Bombers to the left. Hand off to Isham up the middle, and he will run into several of the horns, and he gets it down from the 20 down to inside the 15, it appears, just across the 15.
And giving them the blocking they need to get the penetration and slip those backs through. Good job by that offensive line. I've been impressed with them tonight up until now.
And there is a official's timeout as Kevin Isham's helmet is getting some attention from the official. Once again, the Tipton Balco scored. Balco was ahead 17-0 in the second quarter, that being a Balco which is up in the Panhandle. Gaston looking over the defense, and he goes back to pass. There's looks like complete for Marshall, who was down and then gets up. And that is indeed Jason Marshall. That will be good for the 1st down as Jason Marshall looked inside around the 9-yard line, and Gaston put the ball there, and he's tackled immediately at the 9 and be 1st and goal at the 9-yard line.
Right, Mike runs a little short pass route, kind of a little button hook type deal. Sidney just throws the ball right to him, good for the 1st down. Another score just comes in from Granfield. They just scored again. Granfield goes ahead 26-0.
Granfield, big 8-man contest there between Granfield and Forgan. Isham and Ben in the backfield, hand off to Isham, and he rumbles very close to the end zone down around the 2-yard line. We'll see where they spot this as he went from the 9 down. Looks like they may finally put it down around the 3, so give him 6, a quick 6, and it will bring 2nd and about 3 from the 3-yard line.
Amix and number 35, Ty Simmons, go and check in for the Bombers.
Mitchell's a tight end. He goes to the right side. Isham to the left, Ben to the right, behind Gaston at quarterback. They hand off to Isham again, and he will get very close to the end zone. Well, I thought he broke the plane, Alan, but they will mark him down right about the 1 foot line. And, well, as they put this down, I tell you what, Alan, I thought he broke the plane, and they end up saying his knee hit about the 2-yard line, or
back on him a little bit.
But this will bring up a 3rd, and we'll call it 2. Gaston looks over the defense again, long count. He will hand off to Kevin Isham, and this time there is no doubt as he goes over the left side untouched and runs out the back of the end zone. I believe he definitely broke the plane.
And I'll tell you what, Mike, they blitzed on him, guessed wrong, and he wasn't in the hole they thought he was going to be. Good.
They thought he was going to go between guard and center, and he went off tackle, and he was untouched. Everyone else was about 5 guys between the guard and center there. So 1:25 left to go in the first quarter. Bombers leading 26-0, and they will again go for 2 after missing that extra point on the last touchdown. Carpenter is out to the right. Gaston goes back to pass, throws toward the end zone intended for Carpenter, and it goes over his outstretched hands, and that will be incomplete, and the 2-point conversion will be no good. Bombers leading 26-0. Let's take a 1-minute timeout. You're listening to KYB 95.9 Frederick.
Auto Center. Stop by, see Kevin, Michael, or Steve for all of your automobile needs. Frederick Auto Center open until 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon for your shopping convenience. Frederick Auto Center, your Ford, Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Mercury dealer, 225 South 9th Street in Frederick, or phone 335-2121.
And Blake Bolton about to kick off. And Blake sends a towering kick, and it will be taken at the 5-yard line. And number 30 has some open room, and he is going to be tackled by John Mitchell, Allen, or he might have had a crease.
Well, I tell you what, Mike,
down the sideline.
He got by his first man, and it looked like for a minute there he was going to get loose.
At almost the end of the first half, it's Seminole 7, Sulphur 6, and it's Plainview 14. Newcastle is at 10, John? 14-10 there. Or Newcastle behind 14-0. Back here on the field, Lowe hands off to Russell, and Russell finds some very tough running over the left side. He will get no gain, possibly 1, with 45 seconds and counting here in this first half. I can guarantee you, Alan, the Longhorns just have not had any field position whatsoever to speak as the Bombers backing up a little bit, looking for a long pass. We'll see what they do. They hand off to the fullback, and that will be Cordell as he just trying to keep control of the ball as he covers it up and go into the locker room. 7 seconds, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the end of the first half. The Bombers leading 26-0 in this first round playoff. We'll be back after a 3-minute timeout with some information about the Sheriff's football game that will be coming up, I believe, tomorrow night, and also some more halftime scores. Let's take a 3-minute intermission. You're listening to KYB 95.9, where the Bombers lead 26-0 at half.
Winner is
And we're back live as I try to get the last of that Baby Ruth down, and it didn't want to go down, John. But we're live here at Bomber Bowl, where the Bombers are leading 26-0, and would like to take this opportunity as there will be another game. That will be tomorrow night, Alan, and that will be the Sheriff's Department of Tillman County versus the law enforcement officials from Comanche County. They'll be out here tomorrow night, 7:30.
That's right, folks, and it's for a good cause. And, you know, the Make-A-Wish program is what it's going to be all about. And if you want to see something funnier than Saturday morning cartoons, you need to come to that ball game tomorrow night at 7:30.
And these men have been practicing for a couple of weeks, and they will be out here tomorrow night. And ask you to come out and support this. This will be for a good cause, and there'll be a lot of door prizes given away during the ball game. A lot of real neat things as the Bombers come back on the field.
That's right.
So come out tomorrow night and support the Sheriff's Department and law enforcement. That we have a couple of the Bomber coaches that will be playing along with them. So should be interesting.
Mike, I'm going to tell you what, a lot of these guys I know, in 2 weeks of practice was not enough. And, you know, there's some things that you people can kind of take advantage of if that old game warden or that highway patrol or some of those guys has kind of mistreated you a little bit. Come out here and watch them get beat around tomorrow night. It ought to be a good ball game. You bet. But
color here tonight, it's just a good night to play football, especially when you're ahead 26-0 at half.
You bet, Mike. Let me tell a quick story here while I've got a little time. Some folks in this world kind of mistreat their wives, and as most of you know, last year the Frederick Bombers won the state Class 3A championship, and a group of people here in town, the quarterback club and several others, have wanted to put up a sign at the edge of town. Well, yesterday about 3 o'clock, Leon Lacey tells his wife that we need that sign, and he'd like to have it hung by the time the Jones team drives into town. So that poor girl started yesterday afternoon at 3 o'clock, worked all night long up into the day today. And folks, this afternoon they hung that sign right out here on the east edge of town. I think they may have to, she ran out of time or had to go to bed, and they gave her a break. They did hang it this afternoon. We'll probably take it back down tomorrow and do the finishing touches. But Emily Lacey, you did a great job, and we certainly appreciate it.
And we appreciate those young ladies who worked in the night painting those Bomber or Lightning boats to come to the stadium also. The Bombers will be receiving this kick. Back deep will be Bolton Parks and Ryan Ben. And to kick off will be Gatewood, I believe, who has the ball teed up at the 40-yard line. Gatewood's kick will be taken by Ryan Ben at his 11-yard line. And he comes to the left across the 20, has an opening up to the 25, now goes out to the outside and has some running room at the 50, stays on his feet and is knocked out of bounds at the 49. He was just nudged out of bounds, or he would have gone the distance on that kickoff, Alan.
I'll tell you what, one man, Mike, he kept faking and trying to get rid of him. Like we mentioned earlier tonight, Jones does have a lot of quickness. Could Ryan Ben.
And that will be a 40-yard return by Ryan Ben, and the ball will be in Longhorn territory as, again, the Bombers have good field position to start this second half. There is the counterplay to Isham, and he has very little running room up as number 77 there for the Longhorns was there waiting along with number 79. And 79 is Mr. Billy Clark, and Jeremy was up a second 9, ball at the 48. Carpenter comes to the right side. Mitchell is the tight end to the right. There's a pitch to Ryan Ben around the right side. They're stringing it out, and there's a holding call, looks like, as Ben goes to the 40-yard line. And that's definitely a penalty, as there are two flags about a yard apart. And the only thing that could possibly be, I believe, is holding.
Mike, I think you're exactly right. Trying to come around the outside, they did hold up. I do believe, and the ball will be backed up. We'll just start a little deeper in the hole, looks like.
Well, that may be a good thing, because last time the Bombers had a holding call, the next play they went 55 yards for a touchdown. Some second-half scores that we have Balco 23, Tipton 0. And Granville's now leading Oregon 32-0. Those people over in the Tipton area hope that Tipton can come back in that ball game.
Mike, I don't know just exactly where Balco is, but I think it's the last town before you fall off the edge of the earth.
No, that's Guyman. And Gaston goes back to pass. He looks across the middle. It'll be incomplete at the 45, intended for Hilburn. And the ball a little short as Hilburn tried to scoop it. And it will go incomplete and will bring up a 3rd and 24. 3rd and 24 here in the early part of the second half. Bombers leading 26-0. Carpenter to the left. Gaston goes back to pass, complete to Marshall at the 40. He will be tackled immediately, and there's a flag as there was a late hit on the play as Marshall was knocked down, and then number 28 for the Longhorns came in. That was Chipwood, and just a little bit late on that play, and that will bring up a 15-yard penalty added to that, but I don't believe they'll be good enough for the first down.
Right, Mike, seeing a little of the frustration probably taken out by the Jones Longhorns. You know, they're down 26-0, hadn't had a lot of success with that.
And don't believe that it was vicious, but that much of a vicious hit, he was just, it just took him a long time after the play was over, and he got in and hit, so it will be an unsportsmanlike conduct, and that will be a 3rd down now, 26 yards, so it will be a 3rd and 6 now. And they still had the 3rd down marker. I think it's probably 4th down, not 3rd down, as that was a 3rd down play with a dead ball foul. So I'm pretty sure that would be 4th down. We'll check that. And the referees talk about it, and that will be 4th down, I believe. Yes, they now change it to 4th down. Alan, that was a dead ball foul, so that would be after the 3rd down pass. This will bring up a 4th down and 6 rather than 3rd down and 6.
Take the ball into the end zone one more time. It would have to pretty well let all the air out of the Jones sail.
I believe they're going to punt. It looks like as Ryan Ben comes on, and they have I believe they have enough people on the field. Ryan Ben will be back there to punt as they want to go ahead and keep Jones in poor field position, it appears. Ryan Ben gets off a good kick. It will be taken at the, they're going to call it dead around the 17-yard line, as when it came down, I believe it might have touched Hilburn, and the referee says, yes, indeed. The ball eventually rolls down to about the 4. They're going to put it back around the area of the 15-yard line and say that it touched Hilburn at that point. Again, the referees are talking, and we're trying to figure out what they're doing. One threw his beanbag in the area of the 16 or 17-yard line, and the other referee has the ball around the 4-yard line. So it's going to be one of those two places, Alan.
Right, Mike. I think the first time you described it's exactly what happened. Greg didn't see the ball coming. It looked, okay, it was coming down from real high, and he held up. It came down, hit him, looked like kind of maybe on the end of the toes as he stopped.
Well, they're going to call a flag because the ball hit one of the Bombers as it came down, but the other part of that is that no one was trying to catch the ball. There was no fair catch called. I don't really understand that flag, Alan. If it hits you in the back, it just may hit you in the back, but no one was fair catching the ball or trying to make an attempt to catch it.
No, there was not any attempt at all. Flag comes up. And I guess that's what we're going to do, back up and just start over.
Looks like they want, the Longhorns want to try to get some type of return out of this penalty on the interference with fair catch, but needless to say, it's 4th and 21, no matter what we think, and the Bombers will be punting again.
Mike, I've said it all year long. You know, the referees, I don't think are smart as you and I. I didn't see that call at all.
We'll hope they're not as smart as we are. Ryan Ben takes a lot of time. It's almost blocked. There's a fair catch called, and it will be taken at the 23-yard line. So that was taken in there by number 86, Sean Estep, and Estep will call a fair catch around the 24-yard line. So
about as good a field position as Jones has had all night.
And Lowe is still the quarterback. He rolls out to his right. Now looks across the inside. He will be intercepted drop. intercepted drop.
And I'm going to tell
About
you
three
what,
different chances.
Mr. Quarterback for the Jones Longhorns, I did not get the number of that truck that came across and hit him, Mike, but he did light him up.
I'm thinking that it might have been William Martin or Shea Woodall that had a shot at him, but they drilled him as he threw the ball. And I'm not kidding, folks. The Bombers, it hit a Bomber, and then a Longhorn had a chance at it. Then it hit another Bomber. Then a Longhorn had a chance at it. Then it hit another Bomber, and finally got to the ground. Oh, 21, total 6. There's been no change in that Seminole-Sulphur score. Seminole still leading 7-6, and Plainview still leading Newcastle in the third quarter 14-0. Second and 10 as the Longhorns at their own 25. Handoff now. They pull it up and throw a pass to Gatewood. It's intercepted by Parks. He has some open field. He's back to the 20. Now goes, and there's a flag on the play. Back to around the 18-yard line. We'll read what that flag was. As Parks went up and intercepted the ball, and it's just been inevitable that at some point the Bombers were going to intercept one of those. We'll read that flag as Parks was able to take the ball back across the 20 and get down to around the 18, and we'll read and see what that flag is, and hopefully that would not be something that would give a first down or something. It was thrown after the interception. So we'll try to read that flag and see what they've called.
Mike, you'd think it would almost have to be a clip at the way they're talking. And Millard did a very good job to intercept that ball. Got up in the air very high with a vertical leap to get his hands on that ball.
Yard line in Bomber territory, 1st and 10 for the Bombers as they try to get some more points on the board here in the early goings of the third quarter. There's a handoff to Kevin Isham. Kevin Isham goes across the 35 down to the 34 and give him a gain of close to 6 yards. 9:05 in this third quarter. Bombers leading 26-0.
Good athletes on the field tonight.
It will bring up a 2nd and 4 for the Bombers. Ball at the 35-yard line. There's a handoff to Kevin Isham as he stayed on his feet and kind of skates through the linebackers and then knocks over a couple of people, and he will get the first down. About a 12-yard gain across the 30 down the 25 down to around the 22-yard line. That will be good for the first down.
Excellent job on that run.
And it's been taking a couple of people to put him down, and it took about 3 or 4 that time. So it's 1st and 10 for the Bombers as Carpenter comes in motion to the right. There's the option play with Gaston, and he gets to the 20-yard line, and that will be good for about 3-4 yard gain. And they'll put it down right at the 20. Looks like they'll end up giving him about 3, bring up a 2nd and 7. Gaston gone all the way at quarterback. Ben and Isham behind him. In motion, I believe that is Allen coming in motion. Gaston rolls to his right, now looks to pass, now throws across, and that is Marshall who catches the ball at the 9-yard line and is hit by 2 receivers and rolls out of it and goes in for the touchdown.
Tell you what, Mike, very poor tackling then by Jones. He just kind of stood there in the middle, catches the ball. 2 Jones players slide down his back, and he's slippery enough to get away, run that 9 yards into the end zone. Good catch by Jason Marshall.
Marshall makes the curl down around the 6-7 yard line, and everyone expected Marshall to go down as 2 of the Jones players hit him immediately, and he just slipped out of their grasp and spun around and went all the way into the end zone for the score. So credit some fine moves by Marshall. The Bombers lead 32-0 as William Martin comes on now to attempt this extra point. There's a snap. This one's up, and it is partially blocked. And Bombers not having much success tonight with the extra points. I'm sure they'll be working on that as they lead 32-0. Let's take a minute timeout. You're listening to KYBE 95.9 Frederick.
We have loans in every denomination to meet your needs. Let Bank of Oklahoma put you on Money Street with a loan or line of credit. Just stop by our location at 113 North Main or call 335-5549. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
There's a kickoff as it's taken down around the 20-yard line, and now the ball carrier driven back around the 10, but they'll spot his forward progress at the 19, and that's number 30. You remember his name, Alan?
Yes, I do. Anthony Huskins.
Anthony Huskins is the name. That name wasn't on the original program, so yard line, actually the 19. Bombers leading 32-0 after a pass was complete from Gaston to Marshall. Low on the option play, now pitches wide to Russell, and
Fumbled the ball, didn't he?
Russell will be taken down at the close to the line of scrimmage or after a short gain, and I guarantee you that looks like there might be a player down, and that may be Russell. Good play out there by the corner and the strong safety, as I believe that was Bolton that came up, and Wiley also out there, and
Parks was on that.
And also Parks, as they were there, and there was a good pitch, and they came off the wide receiver and the blocker, able to stop it for a 1-yard gain, which looked like he might have.
Nothing but people staying at home, staying put, staying where they belong, and making good tackles.
Low end still in at quarterback, and he will come out to his left this time, looking across the middle. It will be intercepted by John Hughes. He's down to the 10, makes a cut to the 5, and will be knocked down just short of the goal line, as that play opened up all the way, and John Hughes was there camping behind the receiver. When the ball was thrown, he made a perfect jump in front of the receiver about the 30 and returns it all the way down to about the 1-yard line.
I tell you what, Mike, John Michael looked like a cat sneaking up on a mouse on that play. He just laid back, stayed in behind the receiver, watches the ball go up in the air. At the last minute, takes that step right in front of his intended receiver, takes the ball, does an excellent job of running the ball back down the sideline, putting the move on a player, and getting it right down to about the 3-yard line.
And it will be first and goal from the 3. Gaston looking over the defense. Hand off to Ryan Ben, and he will go into the end zone for the touchdown over the right side. And straight handoff and a dive play, and Ryan Ben just follows his offensive line as they have pushed the Longhorns defense back to about a yard, and he just powers into the end zone. And the Bombers will go ahead now, 38-0, 5:39 left to go in this third quarter, as they are beginning to wear these Longhorns down. And once again, the Bombers will try for one. This time Blake Bolton will come in, left-footed kicker, and he will take a shot at it, see if he can kick it. Bad snap, and they throw the ball up in the air, and Carpenter on the bad snap just kind of threw the ball up in the air, and it falls incomplete. So the Bombers not having a lot of success with their extra point. That's the bad news. The good news is, Alan, they haven't needed it, leading 38-0.
That's right, Mike. It has been a terrible night for the Bombers on trying to kick their extra points. However, on the bright side, I think what they're doing is getting all their bad ones out of the way while they've got the chance.
Marlowe still in the third quarter, leading 21-6, Seminole 7-6 over Sulphur. Plainview 14-0 over Newcastle. If that score holds, the Frederick Bombers would host Plainview next week. Bolton about to kick off, ball teed up at the 40. He's kicking from the north end of the field toward the south. Blake's done a good job kicking all year, and he kicks another high booming kick, and it will be taken down around the 5-yard line, and that's Russell, who comes back across, has some running room, and he will give the Longhorns probably their best field position of the night back to the 29, as Russell finds a little crease and gets up to the 29, close to the 30-yard line, and Horns will have it 1st and 10 from that point.
And, Mike, I do believe you're right. That probably is one, if not the best, one of the better field positions that the Jones Longhorns have taken possession of the ball all night. That out about their 30-yard line, and that's about as deep as they've penetrated down the field all night long.
0, as we're seeing several new faces in the defense. for the Bombers, mainly along the offensive, defensive line. There's a little reverse to Gatewood, and James Charles, who came in, just came into the ball game, is there to meet him along with Hughes and Wiley and Johnson. So Alan, James Charles doing a very good job getting some experience in there.
You bet.
2nd and 12. The ball now back to around the 28-yard line. Lowe looking over the defense, now pitches to Russell, who goes around the right side, and he will be knocked short as he is met by a host of Bombers, and that's Clay Johnson as he gets up. Also looks like number 54. And we'll see if they, our statistician says he bets they don't pass. We'll see. And it's going to be a draw play, but not much of a draw play as James Charles we'll see who gets up here. Looks like
Number
Blankenship.
55, Dusty Blankenship.
And looks like also Clay Johnson there. And that was a draw play, but it will be a loss of about 2 and bring up a 4th, and we'll call it 4th and 13. And the Longhorns will be in another punting situation. Cordell back to punt for the Longhorns. Deep will be Bolton and Ben. End over end kick. This will be returned, I believe. Ryan Ben is going to be pick it up, but again, that shows you the speed of the Longhorns, as it was an end over end kick and Ryan Ben took it, but there were 3 Longhorns on him immediately, and he will have it at the 41.
They're still trying their hardest, and boy, that Bomber defense is just not giving up anything tonight.
Doing a fine job, and the Bombers have it 1st and 10 from their own 41 as Gaston pitches out to Kevin Isham around the left side. He cuts back in at the 45-yard line, 46, and once again, every time it seems like we have that pitch out there, we get what appears to be, might be a holding call on the offensive tackle, I believe.
You bet, Mike. I think clipping is what it was. You bet, a young player in the game on the far side, trying maybe a little too hard, kind of comes up with just a little, wasn't a severe clip, but it was a clip, and they get it called back.
And that will be a major penalty against the Bombers, and we've had to read off some long first downs. The Bombers have been very fortunate in that they've been able to convert even with these long first downs.
Wilson in the game for the Bombers, number 88, Michael Messner.
And Gaston looks over the defense. He has been, and looks like one of the Bombers may have flinched again, as Ben and Isham are in the backfield. Over to the right side is Clarence Allen, and he will come out of the game. Shea Woodall comes in the game. Jason Marshall comes out of the game, and the Bombers will have 1st and 30. As
this way, you've got a long ways to get there for 1st and 10. 30 yards is what we're looking at.
Bombers leading 38-0, 2:58 left to go in the 3rd quarter. Gaston looking over the defense, hands off over the left side to Isham, and Isham will get short yardage as they were trying to spread it out and allow Isham to go up the middle. But credit that defensive, offensive and defensive line, and looked like there might have been a flaring of tempers for just a second. But what the Bombers don't need is someone to get carried away and get someone thrown out of this contest, especially a situation where you'd be leading 38-0. That would be absolutely senseless. The referee gets a couple of them together and says, let's make sure we don't have any tempers flare. Alan, I just believe that's probably a little frustration from the Longhorns.
Mike, gotta be. You know, they're playing hard. They're a long ways from home. They're probably not liking the way this is turning out, and that's exactly what you're seeing. Is just, you know, they're irritated, and they've not liked what's happened to them tonight, and they're just taking out their frustrations.
And credit Isham with a gain of 6. It will bring up a 2nd and 24. Gaston looking over the defense here. Bombers leading 38-0 here in the 3rd quarter. There's a handoff on the option play to Ben, and Ben will go ahead for 4 or 5 yards, and Alan, looks like this one player out to this side has a couple of times had some late hits, and we sure probably need to watch that type of thing, not be goaded into doing something. Well, I believe the rule is 2 games, Alan.
And that would sure be severe.
So Gaston looking over the defense. It's 3rd and 19. And Gaston goes back to pass, has a man wide open down the side, and it will be caught finally by Hilburn on a circus pitch down to the 30. As Hilburn was open for a minute, then he was covered with the man running stride for stride at the 40-yard line. And Hilburn went up. They both juggled it for a minute, and Hilburn reached out with one man holding one of his arms and caught it one-handed and get it down on the 41-yard pass down to the 32-yard line, and that was a circus catch by Greg Hilburn.
Mike, I'm going to tell you what, if our filmers on the far side of the field got a good shot of that catch on tape, that young man's mother and daddy will wear out their VCR watching that over and over.
That was a great catch, and Kevin Isham goes up the middle, and there's a situation again, and number 86 for the Longhorns, Allen, has been involved in about 4 situations where I believe he's trying to fight now, and that's very unfortunate. Bombers have not really been in a situation like that where they had to worry about someone fighting on the field. But,
well, Mike, I'm going to tell you what, the referee standing right in front of that watching it, there was no sign of him even reaching towards the flag, and boy, they sure want to keep this game under control.
And it brings up a 2nd and 5 at the 32 seconds left to go in this 3rd quarter. They hand off to Ben, and Ben will go down across the 25-yard line close to the 24. That will still be short of the first down and bring up a 3rd down, and we'll call it a long 2. And Alan, I think if Coach Jones can get this thing in the end zone, he'll probably begin to pull some of these starters so we don't have a situation where we get someone thrown out of the ball game.
Right, Mike. There the 3rd quarter ends, and like you said, we've still got a full quarter of football to play, and we sure don't want to see, we'd like to see the game played in a sportsmanlike manner until the final buzzer goes off. And, these young men, they've played hard, but they've got to be frustrated being down at this point 38-0. And
for another exciting football season. We are having a great time watching the games and supporting the players along with their coaches. We know that all of your hard work will pay off during your quest for another gold ball. Frederick Funeral Home wishes the team many safe and victorious games in the future. That's the Frederick Funeral Home, 401 North 9th Street in Frederick, Oklahoma.
And while we were away, there was one play that was run. That was the option play to Kevin Isham. And Kevin Isham fumbles the ball, but is able to get back to Bombers leading 38-0. And we'll call it a long 6, as the Bombers will need to get down close to the 21 for the first down. Option play again. There goes Gaston over the left side down the 20, down to the 15, still on his feet down to the 5. We'll call it the 6-yard line as the referee runs in around the 6. And Gaston kept the ball and faked the pitch and was able to get down to the 6-yard line. And the Bombers, again, knocking on the door, 1st and goal at the 6.
Good job running the option in by Sidney Gaston. He faked to the inside. About half of Jones' boys went there. He faked the pitch to the outside. The other half went there. Left Sidney a good lane of running right up the middle down to the 6-yard line.
And it will be 1st and goal at the 6-yard line as Bombers break the huddle and come up to the line. Gaston at quarterback, Ben and Isham behind him. There's a handoff on the power play to Isham, and credit the Jones defense. And again we have number 86 for the Jones team. And Alan, that young man needs to lead the ball game.
Mike, he's done it all night long. It's not just a one-time deal. He's just continually done it. And we'll see what happens. They call it against Frederick, Mike, and that's exactly usually what's happened. They pick on you, you finally retaliate, and you're the one that's going to get the call.
Well, that will be on the play. There was no gain, and I can tell you what, you have a young man that his the last 6 or 7 plays has tried to pick a fight, and that is number 86, and that's Sean Estep. I'll go ahead and give his name because it's very apparent as he's done it right in front of the referees. And I tell you what, that's a situation that I have no idea why they called it on the Frederick Bomber, because Bomber was on the ground,
Mike,
and Estep was standing over him, kicking him. I don't understand it.
You know, the refs have not done a bad job all night long. They have overlooked the young man, That is a terrible, terrible call on the refs right there.
And what will happen is evidently that young man is going to be encouraged to do something there. And Coach Jones asked for a timeout to talk to the referee because we're in a situation here that Bombers certainly do not want to lose any of their players whatsoever. And Coach Jones is talking to the referee. I know he's asking, why are we letting them get away with this? And all of a sudden you call a 15-yard penalty on us. I can say nothing better than that's a sympathy penalty.
Mike, that's exactly right. Evidently they are feeling sorry for Jones, but however, when a young man comes in with that attitude and plays that type of football, you're sure not doing him any favors by letting him get away with it. He is a senior. This is his last game. He's sure not going to probably go anywhere and play college ball, but it's sure not good to let the young man do things like that on the football field.
And it will still be a second down as the ball has been moved back to the 19-yard line. The score is Bombers 38, Jones 0, and we haven't had a situation where really with our conference or our district where we felt like that there's been unsportsmanlike conduct. Haven't really seen this type of thing since Iowa Park.
Mike, as a whole, the whole year has gone well. We've played a lot of quality teams. Even when we won by quite a large margin, you never saw the other teams show any unsportsmanlike conduct whatsoever until tonight.
Well, if anything, this gets the crowd fired up now. It's second and go from about the 19 as the Bombers need to go all the way into the end zone. They started around the 3. Gaston on the quarterback keep. There's a pitch, and it will be, the pitch goes to Isham. Really a very good pitch by Gaston out there in heavy traffic, and it will be about a 4-yard gain. And the crowd wanting the Bombers, I think, to put this thing in the end zone, as there is a young man that is injured for the Jones Longhorns. I believe he might have had the breath knocked out of him as he was the man that made the tackle on Isham.
And, Mike, this is what happens when you let a game kind of creep out of control like this. The players come back. They're going to hit a little harder. If the refs don't go along with the way it ought to be and it'll get out of control, they'll hit a little harder. They'll, and they'll, it's kind of sad this late in the season to let something like this happen. And I think that is exactly what you've seen.
Hurt as he came up and made that tackle, and he did, that's Estep. Estep came up and made a hard hit on Isham, as give him credit for coming up and with a good defensive play, but I believe he might have taken a knee to the head as he came up on that tackle, and he's being looked at now. Let's take a 30-second timeout. You're listening to KYBE 95.9 Frederick. Both teams, and Estep is being led off, and he will get a round of applause, a polite round of applause from the Frederick fans, but Alan, that young man, has been involved in about 5 or 6, 7 plays here that I guess we could call them close to fisticuffs or type of thing. So Bombers have it 3rd and go, and it's at the 16. Kevin Isham and Ben come out of the game. Into the game comes Bolton and Matthews. Gaston comes to his left, and there's a flag. And I believe that before the play could get underway, probably someone moved because they blew it dead. And this game has deteriorated from a well-played game to a lot of mistakes out there, and we kind of need to get this thing over now.
Right, Mike. We've brought Ryan Ben and Kevin Ashton to the sideline, put in some younger players, and
a 3rd and 20 as this entire drive started at the 3-yard line after Gaston's option play. It's 3rd and 20, and they have to get into the end zone. There's Matthews goes up the middle, and Matthews will be stopped after a short gain as the Longhorns trying to strip the ball away from Matthews, and Matthews gets up after about a 3 or 4 yard gain. We'll call it a, well, they're going to give him about 2.5. And now the Bombers will need to get all the way, once again, they will need to get all the way into the end zone. They brought the ball back out around the 19 or 20. So this is 4th and goal to go from the, we'll call it about the 18, 17-yard line. Gaston Rose to his right, going to put the ball in the air, and it will be incomplete, broken up at the goal line, intended down there for Mitchell and Marshall. And the ball will go over to the Longhorns, and they will have it again in their own territory down around the 17-yard line.
Mikey Hope with number 89 out of the game, and as I say that, I believe he comes back. Can't tell for sure, but, you know, hopefully the game, they'll clean it up, play decent football, show some sportsmanship in this game like gentlemen.
And, you know, credit some frustration there because this is the playoffs, and no one wants to get beat out in the playoffs. And I think basically the Jones players have regrouped, and they'll hand off to Russell. He'll go over the left side, and look like there will be about a gain of about 5. You know, several of the players jumped back behind the ball carrier. We thought there might be a fumble, but and a lot of new faces in on the defense for the Frederick Bombers.
All right, number 43, Mike. Jim Bob Rempel goes in.
Good hit in there by, I believe that's number 62. And I believe that's Seth Schrader, or excuse me, Mike Messner, as he knifed into the backfield and was able to knock Jones down after only about a yard gains. Number 52 is one of the linebackers in there that's there. And 3rd and 2 play. On the option play, Lowe goes around the left side, and he will be knocked down very short, or not very far from the line from the first down mark, and looks like it could be short.
All right, Mike, I believe he's going to like it about a yard. Looks like maybe a long yard, maybe close to 2.
To 0, 7 minutes left in this ball game. The Longhorns certainly have nothing to lose by going for this. There's a handoff to the fullback, Cordell, and Cordell, no, that's Weiss, as Weiss comes back in the ball game, and he will get that yard and maybe about another yard, give him a 2-yard gain.
Bombers were in. You can see by the scores tonight, Marlowe up, Sulphur only down by 1, Plainview up, Frederick up, and it was indeed a very tough district.
There's a play-action pass as Lowe is now into trouble, and he's going to be sacked by Miller as first pressure came from Mitchell for a loss of, let's say a loss of about 7, and then we're here at the linebacker. 43
Jim Bob
Rempel out there and one of the strong safeties. Again, the option play, Lowe keeps the ball, goes around the left side, and he will be stopped for no gain, possibly a yard loss.
Brought down by number 32.
I believe that was also Mitchell in there also on that, and getting back to playing good hard-fought football like they were before.
I believe that was number 52, Mr. Thayer then, Mike.
Okay, Cordell goes in motion. Lowe throws backward, and it will be to Russell as kind of a strange play as he takes it out in the flat and then just goes straight out of bounds, and didn't look like he gained anything at all. In fact, he may have lost a yard or 2, and that will bring up a 4th down and 20 for the Longhorns as Cordell goes back in punt formation. He will be the punter. Back deep will be Blake Bolton, and Cordell not going to run, Now he kicks, and it's blocked, and it will be picked up. And now, not picked up, but it's Dusty Blankenship takes it, and he tried to catch it in the air, but it kind of went through his hands, so Blankenship will recover it right at the 20. The referee's talking, but once that punter takes a move, he is fair game, and the ball was blocked, also partially blocked. So have no idea what the referees are talking about this. The ball should be 1st and 10 after the 20, but they're coming over to the coach's side, and we'll see what they're talking about now. As Bombers are huddling up, Allen don't have any idea because he tried to run, went about 4 yards, and then tried to kick, and even with that, the ball was touched. The referee goes back, and I don't know if there was something about the play or they're just asking the coaches for something. I don't know, but anyway, it will be 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line.
Right, Mike. 4 minutes and 50 seconds left to play in the ball game.
They're going to repunt, and I don't have a clue. Folks, there is no flag. There is no flag. I don't know if there's an inadvertent whistle. I don't know what happened, but rather than the Bombers having the ball, I don't have a clue. I can't tell you that the ball is, they kick it again, and it's taken by Blake Bolton. But all I can tell you, Alan, it must have been an inadvertent whistle. That's all that I can say, because they snapped the ball. It was blocked by the Bombers. They had it to 20, and then they let the Jones team line up again and kick it again. There are no flags. Bombers have it on the 1st and 10 after they return it back to the 41.
Well, Mike, since I've never seen anything like it, I'm just going to let you talk. I'll just not say anything.
Oh, mercy. And these are playoff officials, but they've been mixed up a lot. Marshall takes it at the 35 down to the 32, and it's complete to Marshall, and Gaston still in the ball game. I think it's probably still short, and be 2nd and 1. We'll call it 2nd, and we'll call it less than 1 yard. Ball about the 31-yard line as Gaston looks over the defense. Running backs, Gaston goes back and passes to Hilburn on the short out, and Alan, I believe that what they're trying to do is Gaston is just trying to work on that out pass right there and get in a little repetition for next week.
Right, Mike, and he's doing a very good job. Just a short route, turn, pick up a few yards at a time. He did pick up the 1st down then. Good job on those short pass routes. Good job of catching by Greg Hilburn in. Good pass by Sidney Gaston.
And the ball will be at the 36 as Matthews in the backfield along with number 22 for the Bombers. And Gaston runs the option around the right side down to the 20, down to the 15, slung down to around the 6, and the ball comes out. They'll say it was dead. And we'll see where they spot this finally, as they say his knee touched and then the ball came out. So they will move the sticks for the 1st down, and they will put it down around the 13-yard line rather than across the 10.
Mike, turning into an interesting ball game here. A lot of things we've seen tonight that we've not seen before. However, the best thing I see right now with 3 minutes and 23 seconds clock running, the Bombers are ahead 38-0.
You bet. And Blake Bolton comes in the ball game at quarterback. Thompson and Matthews behind Bolton. And Bolton will look toward the end zone. It will be incomplete, almost intercepted at the 1-yard line, intended for Hilburn. And again, not passing the rub it in. They're just allowing Bolton some snaps, and in case he has to come in, 3:04 left to go in this 4th quarter. Bombers leading 38-0.
They've practiced hard and played hard in the JV games, and you can bet they're going to try to score.
Bolton at quarterback. Back behind him, slid back Thompson and Matthews. Bolton takes the ball. It's a fumble, and Longhorns will recover as Bolton tried to turn it up, and I believe the ball was knocked out, and Russell for the Longhorns is there to recover it. And it will be recovered around the 16-yard line, and the Longhorns will have an opportunity with 2:57 left to go in the contest to try to get the ball out of their own territory. And Frederick territory.
Right, Mike. A lot of young Bombers in the game right now, getting the opportunity to play.
Pitch back to Russell, going around the left side, and he will be hit after a short gain out there by Wiley, and Wiley helps up Russell after about they'll give him 4 yards, and that's back to the type of football we're used to seeing, where the defensive back comes up, makes a good hit, and helps the offensive player up there. Tony Wiley comes out, Cedric Thompson in over there. And this will be a second and about 6. Looks like a draw play, and be a short gain for a couple yards. And that was handed off to Calvin Russell. Of all these young men who deserve to have their names called over the air.
Right.
And
number 80, Mike, Jason.
And that's handed off straight ahead to the fullback, and that's Weiss, who gets close to the first down. And the referees will have to look at this one and decide whether or not that's a first down or whether or not to measure. And sure enough, it looks like we're going to have our first measurement of the night with 1:09 left in the fourth quarter. Bombers leading 38-0.
Number 80, Jason Webb, in the ball game.
And Blake Bolton comes over to the side there to talk to Coach Jones, and it will indeed be a first down, as Weiss is able to take it straight ahead and get enough yardage by just a little bit to get the first down. And with the clock running 1:06, the Longhorns will try to get this thing at least into Bomber territory. Lowe looks over, goes back to pass, now throws a deep pass. It's going to be intercepted by number 43, and that's Jim Bob Rimple, who played the center fielder on that and is able to wrestle that away from the offensive receiver. And Rimple will get himself an interception with 50 seconds left to go in the ball game.
You bet. Winding down, Mike. We're about ready to put this one in the books, and if the scores stay the same, Frederick will play Plainview here at the Bomber Bowl next Friday night.
Ball resting 49-yard line in Bomber territory, 42 seconds and counting, and barring something unforeseen, which a lot of that's happened this last half, this should be the last play. There's the option play, and Bolton doesn't get the handoff, and now he will be knocked down, and then there's a late hit as one of the players comes over and puts a late hit that was totally unnecessary on one of the Bombers, and that will be a 15-yard penalty. And I tell you, Alan, that's just one of those situations where we've seen a lot of cheap shots, and I can tell you what, the Frederick Bombers are not cheap shot. They just don't do those type of
Well,
cheap
Mike,
shots.
I'm going to tell you what, number 79, Billy Clark, one of those players, turns around, flexes his muscles, struts back up through the field. You just hate to see that kind of action from a young man in a high school football game.
And 25 seconds left to go after that 1st and 10 on that late hit. And, very unfortunate as the clock runs. I don't think that they're going to run another play and have any opportunity for anyone to accept a cheap shot. And that's unfortunate that just a couple players have done that because most of these Jones players have shown a lot of class. And as they shake hands in the middle, and the Bombers pull off a 38-0 win here with this game ending. And Alan, really the game was over about the third quarter, and we just kind of had to endure the fourth quarter. But as the players shake hands, and we certainly like to see that, Frederick will be advancing, and they will play here at home next week against what seems to be, or about the third quarter, Plainview was ahead 14-0. And we'll see if that score holds up.
Mike, it's been a lot, just like you said. For the most part tonight, the Jones players have played very decently, have shown quite a lot of sportsmanship, and, they do have a lot of good young men, a lot of good athletes. Yeah, I think the two players we saw kind of act up tonight, both of them are seniors. Last game, probably really frustrated, disappointed the way their season was ending, and took the frustrations out. But you'd like to see a young man on the field show just a little bit more character.
And I can tell you right now that the Jones people need to be very proud of their young men as they have shook hands and doing a good job, especially number 77, who is class young Jeremy Wilson for the Longhorns. And
you bet, Mike, and he's just a junior. We'll probably see him somewhere next year.
And he's quite a hoss there. But the Frederick Bombers will win this. They win it 38-0. Let's take a 3-minute timeout, and then we'll come back and have some final stats, hopefully, and we'll wrap this thing up. You're listening to 95.9 Frederick Bomber Football, KYBE, Frederick.